Hello, hello! Welcome to April. We've made it past the first quarter of 2025. It has been so long, yet such a short amount of time. So, as it is the 1st of April, thank you. And as such, basically, we don't want to take things too seriously on this day of jokes, japes, and other things. We're gonna look at some we're gonna look at something a little bit odd. But so what we're going to look at is the fact that I think I'm still going. Okay, cool. Google Meet just decided to tell me I was disconnected, so I was a little worried about the stream, but the stream seems to be fine. No drop frames. Okay. We're going to be looking at something a little bit silly. So, hi. Let me pop myself up here, and let's just pull the Band-Aid off. And so there it is. Back in the day of brands. This was, I was going to try to remember exactly when this was. And I can't remember off the top of my head what year this exactly was. Let's see if I can't find it. October, it was 2019. So in the pre-days, oh, you know what I don't have up? I don't have my green screen, so you're seeing my room and all of its wonderfulness. Hi, I'm gonna open this up. But in any case, back in 2019, Wendy's, basically there used to be a website, you may have heard of it, it is now mostly historical record at this point, called Twitter, oddly enough, named after a bird, where people would do stuff like tweet. I mean, because, it was a bird. So, you get the joke, tweeting birds. Makes sense. It was kind of a silly little name, a silly little website. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people used it. Sadly, it is no longer with us. But, in any case, basically, for a while, it was mostly just people. Then, of course, as with all things, eventually, the brands arrived. Corporations figured out that they could put themselves on the website and advertise their products. So, as that happened, basically certain accounts would be more serious than others, and some accounts would be sillier than others. Wendy's, for the longest time, was very definitely one of the least serious of the brand accounts. And basically was known as for their account having zero chill, I believe would be basically how the kids would put it, as it were. And would basically very definitely would react unfavorably to any comments that got made. And so basically They had it, so that is to say, their social media team at least had kept their pulse somewhat on what was going on. And so, as Critical Role started taking off, and you saw the rise of actual plays and the rise of TTRPGs start to come up, several different brands leapt onto this bandwagon of, hey, we should basically appeal to these people because. You know what, basically a large chunk of the audience, basically, of TTRPGs are people who don't necessarily eat healthily, and so as such tend to favor things such as fast food. So, both Arby's and Wendy's both got into this. Arby's at one point had dice. Basically, they diced. They did paper craft versions of various TTRPG characters. Wendy's went the extra mile and actually released for free a full TTRPG. And basically, initially, it's like, oh, they probably just did a 5th edition D&D slight reskin knockoff. In it isn't that, actually. It's still a D20 type game. It is still, basically, you just still roll a D20, add a number to it, compared against another number. It's still that style of game, but it does have its own stats, its own classes, its own skill system. It is by no means a deep system. It is by no means a system which you want to hold up and be like, this is the game system that will provoke large amounts of serious role-playing and bring something new to the table. I need you not to do that. Thank you. But as basically, so it is basically, for what it is worth, a relatively decent stab at a silly TTRPG. And I'll get more into that, as you can see in the title of this video. What the role of a silly, unserious TTRPG like this is. But just to talk a little bit more about this, basically, we would be remiss, however, if we didn't mention two key facts about this. One, it is 100% branded content. It is, make no mistake, a Wendy's RPG. There is nothing about this product which is not basically, as you dig deeper into it, a brand advertisement for Wendy's. Do not go into this expecting, basically, so if you're like, hey, I don't really, basically, when people at my table are trying to do an escapism type thing, we role-play to get away from the real world, that's not what this is going to be so much. It's completely silly and utterly, basically, tongue-in-cheek, but it's still branded content. You can feel the claws of a marketing department are deep in this. They're deep within this. We'll see more of that as we go on. And two, this was the cause of some controversy, as you may remember. Critical Role in their early days of breaking free of being part of Geek and Sundry, doing their own thing. Obviously, money was something they basically didn't think they should turn down. Got into this only to discover, A, their fans weren't particularly basically big on their somewhat self-supported, meaning supported by basically, Critical Role is supported by the fans. They run Kickstarters and things like that, doing branded content. And B, at the same time, Wendy's at the time was dealing with, and may still be dealing with, I haven't looked recently, basically some bad faith contract negotiations with the farmers and other people that they sourced their food from, and as such was seen as taking advantage of the basically taking advantage of a lot of people, basically working people, farmers and delivery people and such, and so taking money from them to promote their incredibly branded marketing product was seen as a bad move. So basically, let's get it out straight. This is by no means a sponsored stream. This is basically, we are not accepting any money from Wendy's to support or talk about this product. We're just picking it because it's an absolutely silly idea for a TTRPG. And so that's why we're talking about it here. Yeah, hashtag not sponsored. So that to say, let's talk about silly RPGs first before we go too much deeper into this. I'll talk about that as I am getting more into a blank screen. Yes, it is basically, as you can see, basically we're hard at work here at LoreLink. Can you do you want to show LoreLink? Get with the program here, maybe? That is no, okay, that's that. Boop. Boop. I love it when it does this. What if I switch off? Oh, you're the wrong one. What if I switch off of what I tell you to look at? You tell you to go look at something else. Oh, hey. Oops. There we go. And a slight preview just for being willing to put up with this. Look, everybody. It's version 1 of Dark Mode, coming soon to a lore link near you. As you can see, there's obviously some things we're still working on fixing and things like that. But we have heard you. Dark Mode is coming. Basically, so hold on just a little bit longer and your eyes will be shielded from the light. And lore link will be available in screen saving, no longer getting a tan by your monitor Dark Mode. But that is not yet today. This is test. So, and as I don't want to run this entire stream in test, otherwise our UI person might jump us. We will go back to the horrors of white mode. It's coming soon, though. I just wanted to make sure people knew. All right, so basically, silly art, basically silly TTRPGs. Basically, a lot of times when you're running a game, you'll get together because there's a lot of different reasons why people roleplay. Some people roleplay so that they can basically hang out with friends. Some people roleplay because they want to tell interesting stories. And some people like to roleplay because they like solving puzzles. Some people GM because they want to tell interesting stories. Things like that. And so there are a lot of reasons why people do it. Basically, that first reason, however, because they want to have fun with their friends, is probably the underlying reason in a lot of it. Basically, even if you're going out and you're basically playing at a local game store or professionally hiring a GM and joining a group online, odds are good that basically you're doing it because you want to meet interesting people. There are very few, they exist, people who are, I am purely about role-playing. I'm only here to actually have the role-playing experience. That's the only reason why basically I want to do this. Basically, I would maybe somewhat argue that if you are purely looking at this as a game that you want to win or beat or otherwise interact with, you're kind of in the wrong hobby. That's quite it. But basically, a lot of people basically are like, I want to spend time with people and do something. I want some. I would like some grease for my basically social interaction gears, as it were. And so, as such, I'm not basically. I normally would be putting alt text on these, but as I am doing this on stream, I am leaving that out. But I will make my usual comment as I usually do. Hey, put alt text on things. But we put that field in there for a reason, because when you're working with people and you're sharing your content with other people, don't assume the fact that just because you're like, oh, this is easy, it's relatively, basically the picture makes sense and everything is perfectly understandable. That you shouldn't, however, basically include alt text to make things easier for those who may interact with the web in a slightly different reason than you do. So, in any case, basically, and so a lot of times it's like, that's why you start with something people know about. Critical Role introduced a lot of people to the idea of basically, hey, role-playing can be this dynamic, incredible experience where a lot of weird stuff happens, a lot of interesting stuff happens. And as such, hey, Wolf Mom. Wait, why am I cooking? Okay. And as such, basically, a lot of people, when they show up and they want to roleplay, they're there for an experience which engages them, basically keeps them interested, allows them to interact with other people, have fun moments, have basically interesting, incredible moments where things basically go right or things go wrong, and that isn't exactly the background that basically that's what they've been exposed to, because that's what you see when you watch Dimension 20. That's what you see when you watch Critical Role. Pardon me, let me just get that. As such, basically, a lot of people are basically kind of expect that experience when they show up, and they don't want to get bogged down in a lot of rules mongering and things like that. They don't want to get bogged down in, hey, how does this interact with this? How does grappling work? That's part of the reasons why 5th edition is taken off the way it does. It's straightforward, it's easy. But these silly TTRPGs, these things like Feast of Legends, things like Honey Heist, things like a lot of the one-sheet TTRPGs that you've seen. Small, thin, basically, even stuff like Feng Shui 2, and basically other games like that, basically, they're not serious, basically. But what that means is the fact that they don't necessarily have a ton of depth in terms of the system that's built into it. They're not designed for, hey, I want to run a campaign in this system for 5-10 years. Okay. Technically, Feng Shui 2 has that ability in it. There's actually a whole backstory and things like that. And a friend of mine is actually trying to basically see if he can run a long-term basically campaign, and we're going to see how it works out. But those one-shots and things like that are great for basically getting people started, getting people involved into an RPG, being like, they're like, hey, we want to give this a try. Cool, we're going to play something absolutely silly, which has the mechanics of a TTRPG. But it's not going to be a serious thing. We don't want you to think of it as serious. We want everybody to come in and think of it as, we're trying this thing out. We're going to give it a try. We're going to see how this group gels, how this group works out. How can this group actually interact together? Basically, can they come together? Can they does everybody's play styles mostly mesh? Is there someone in the group who takes this way too seriously? Is there someone in the group who doesn't take it seriously at all and isn't really that interested? Things like that. Finding that out, but doing it in a low-stakes manner, such as a silly game like this, is a great way of getting a handle on that, introducing people to it. And additionally, low-stakes games like this are also great for introducing newer players to the concepts behind it. And by newer, I also can mean younger. Like, this is something silly enough and light, it's a kind of a step in that I wouldn't feel too bad about introducing this to, say, my nieces and nephews. Now, I'm going to be talking more about introducing younger players to TTRPGs next week, so tune in for that. Basically, a lot of that is going to be based on my experience of basically role-playing with my nieces and nephews, and what is that like, and what is basically how you can bring those people into the idea. But these silly games are a great way of doing it, because you're not you can emphasize the game aspect of this without necessarily compromising or removing completely the story aspect of the game. And so, because of that, basically, it's a great way of getting started. It's a great way of breaking things in. It's also great for a break when you don't have, because a lot of the time, basically, as everyone knows, it's literally a meme in basically, you're not going to be able to get everybody coming at all the time to your games. There will be times where some of your players can't come for personal reasons. Someone's on vacation for a couple weeks. And your game basically could get basically pushed off, or otherwise might be canceled. But these silly games like this, they can help you. Basically, they can keep the group together. They could be like, okay, sure. Basically, those 2 people are out, but we still have 3 or 4 people from the main group. How about you basically, someone want to run, basically, let's run Feast of Legends. It could give you as a GM a chance to take a break. This is something you could feel comfortable handing to a relatively inexperienced GM. And being like, hey, want to give this a shot? It's relatively rules light. It's got a campaign already put together for you. You don't have to think. We're all basically, no one's going to take it too seriously or judge you harshly for screwing it up, because no one's going to understand how to play it, and it's a silly branded game with Order of the Frosty and Order of the Spicy Chicken and Order of the Beef and a class called, basically a class or order called the Baconator. Like, come on. It's fine. You can give this one a shot. You can play it. And hey, it gives the GM a chance to take a break. It gives basically gives someone else a chance to GM, basically see if they, basically how much they like the idea. I already have that. Oh, darn. And it also can break up the, basically, giving your GM a break is always a good thing. Basically, it can avoid burnout. It also can avoid player burnout as well when you play something just silly and ridiculous. If you're in the depths of my character, basically, we're here because this one character's backstory, we're discovering the tragic history of how their parents, who they had thought had betrayed the kingdom, actually secretly had been betrayed themselves and framed by someone who basically your character had been raised by as a best friend. And basically now it's an incredibly, you've just gone through this incredibly traumatic and deep moment, and all of your player characters are like, wow, okay, that was a really great couple of sessions. We really unpacked some cool stuff. Everyone had a great storytelling time. But boy howdy, basically that was really deep. And hey, can we just take a brief break and do something else? And basically, I want to punch monsters again for a short bit. And basically, I want to be able to do it without thinking about basically whether or not the monsters are actually people, because you secret revealed to us in our last game that that we're actually the bad guys, and all the villains we've been beaten up or we've been duped into thinking are actually people all along. Yeah, basically like play werewolves and destroy polluters. Basically, I want to punch things and not feel bad about it for a little bit. And that may not work with your current campaign. There are ways you can do that in a campaign. You can change up your campaign. You can basically shift things up so that basically things end up that way. But sometimes it's just good to take a break and be like, let's do something else. Let's try something else. And also, the other thing it can do is it also can give you a chance to push your players to flex their role-playing muscles in ways they're not necessarily used to. And basically, this can make them better role players when they come back to their main game. You could be like, oh hey, I've learned more about using this game has like things like feng shui, which very definitely push for more descriptive attacks, more dramatic, more taking advantage of the environment, things like that, where you can start to push them to basically more interaction between the players and requesting things to be like, hey, is there a X or a Y nearby? Can I hunt that down? Can I pull that up? Can I find one of these? Feng Shui basically is designed around that and pushes for that, but that mechanic can show up in other games. Your players can interact with you if they're having a fight in a tavern, rather than being like, yeah, I move around the table and I swing and I swing. Maybe your player's like, oh hey, I was like Feng Shui, we threw tables and tipped stuff over and things like that. Can we do that here? Yeah, you could do that. We could throw chairs at people. We could kick stools into people's legs. We can tip over tables and use them as cover. Cool. Now your fight scenes just got your fight scenes before, which had been everybody get into a line and swing at people, get a little bit more interesting, a little bit more, basically a little bit more cinematic, as it were. And that could be due to the fact that you've decided, hey, let's play something else. So basically looking at Rise from the Deep Freeze to talk a little bit more about this branded campaign. So what is the Feast of Legends system? As I said before, it's a relatively straight D20 type system. You're going to have there is marketing all over it. Like, it starts from the beginning when you're creating your character creation, and all of their stats range from 4 to 16. Because how you generate stats for your characters is that you roll 4d4s. And they're like, yep, that's we call it our 4 for $4. Basically, 4 for $4 basically system. Nailed it. Yes, they actually do say nailed it in the book. There are some language choices in here which are just like, ooh, okay. How do you do, fellow kids? Yep. There is this questionable system down here, which was obviously given to an intern who didn't know what they were doing, which was supposed to be, hey, you have a stat, you roll your stat, basically you roll up your bonus because you roll 4 to basically between 4 and 16, and that tells you what bonus you get on dice rolls whenever you're rolling that stat. Basically, and so you get a +2 if your stat is 13 to 15. So why this says roll 2 total 13 plus 2 roll bonus equals 15 is unclear, except for 13 and 2. Basically 13 is the stat and 2 is the stat bonus. But why is that a roll bonus of 15? It's not. It's they screwed this up. Just ignore this. It's fine. They have their own stats. Basically, rather than the full D&D 6, they've simplified it down to 5. Constitution is the one that gets lost, as it were. You have strength, which basically does both your physical strength and your constitution are all under strength. Your dex becomes grace. Your intelligence is just intelligence. Arcana is closer to, basically, this is probably closer to wisdom. It's just a generic magic stat. Alright. Basically, and charm, which is your charisma roll. So, relatively straightforward stats, relatively small stat window. Basically, it's a relatively simple setup. Had somebody 4d4s, they roll them 4 times. Basically, they add those up. Then they repeat that 5 times. Pick which stats they want to be high, pick which stats they want to be low, and then basically you're good to go. Basically, you're good to go for character creation. That's pretty much it. You do that, and then you pick your class, and you're done. Simple, straightforward. The classes are basically silly, but at least somewhat unique. They're not you don't look at it and you go, oh, that's a 1-for-1 map with X or Y. You're like, you have the Order of the Spicy Chicken Sandwich, which basically has heat-based attacks, which work basically almost everything on the good guy side is heat-based, because the enemy of Wendy, because Wendy's big push during this time period is fresh, never frozen. And so, as such, ice is evil, and only bad characters use ice, and the good characters all use heat because they're cooking things fresh. So, and heat is the enemy of cold. So they all have either heat or spice-based attacks. But how the system, basically, ice is evil. Well, yeah, ice is evil. You're correct on that one. Wendy's knew what they were talking about looking forward. So, in any case, basically, so how the system works is, on your turn, you basically you roll initiative, and that's just roll a d20. You don't add anything to it. You just roll a d20. Cool. And then you take an action. What actions can you take? Well, you can hit somebody. Roll a d20, add your strength. Or you could use a skill, which your skills are defined by your levels. Basically, at level 1, you have 3 skills. That's it. That's all you get. You get your 3 skills. Or you could do something which is not an attack and not a skill. And that's just anything else. You can move, you can pick something up, you can open a door, you can do whatever. But you get an action a round. That's it. And basically, unless otherwise specified by something else, you get an action. And you're good. Straightforward. Doesn't necessarily basically means the fact that you as the player have to put more interest, more description into it. You're talking a little bit more about what you're doing, about what your character is wearing. You have to come into the system knowing that it is silly, and so you have to contribute to it. So you have the order of the spicy chicken sandwich. There's essentially the order of the chicken, which is essentially their magical classes, are all their chicken-based classes. So spicy chicken is their heat-based, basically smoke bombs and burning. Then there's the home-style chicken sandwich, who are the bards, the kind of team players of it. They can create a comfortable fire, which protects you from bandits. You can give people a delicious food quickly, and they restore 1d4 hit points. You can give people advantage, things like that. Then there's the grilled chicken sandwich, which is basically more your cleric-based thing. So you're mostly just straight giving people hit points. Again, you have basically you get 1d4 hit points for that. You get 1d6 hit points for this one. A large bite. Basically it gives 3d4 hit points. You can heal your entire team for 4d6, because everything is better when you're eating together. Or you could upsize your combo. And basically, everyone gets a full effect of sitting down to a meal, because this may shock you that everything in this game is based around food and eating for some reason. And then they have their mixed class, which is the Asiago Ranch Chicken Club, which mixes skills from all the previous classes together, because it's all 3 forms of the chicken sandwich. They're aggressive like spicy, a team player like homestyle, and they're to make you feel great like grilled. Basically, nomads who travel across Frostopia to study the paths of the art of the chicken. And basically, then lastly, there's also the Order of the Chicken Nuggets, who can basically are kind of rogues, kind of. They're like magic rogues. Rogue monks. Again, there isn't they at least put some thought into these, and at least push them in terms of basically like, hey, let's talk about let's push the. So you've got stuff like grab and go. You can always break away. While attacking at nighttime, you gain advantage on all attacks and strength saving rolls because chicken nuggets are for eating at night. I am almost surprised that there isn't something basically. There is something where you roll 4d20 here, but they don't make a 420 joke in eating chicken nuggets. Apparently, even they weren't, even in the rarefied time of 2019, they weren't quite ready to talk about basically satisfying munchies in their official campaign. Basically, then after the Order of the Chicken, there's the Order of the Beef, who are your very beefy characters. You do see what they did there, who all have a bonus of fresh, never frozen. You have resistance to all cold damage. You are truly fresh, never frozen. Like I said, marketing is deep in this. Applewood Smoke Bomb, 2v patties, you could dual wield weapons. Well, is there something else? Basically, on a successful strength roll of 14 or higher, you take 0 damage throughout the next turn. Oh, they also always get to take 2 damage. They take two actions. Everyone else is taking 1 actions. The beef fighter gets to take 2 actions per turn. Yes. There's the order of the that is the order of the Baconator. Basically, who gets the powerful attacks of bacon into their thing. The Junior Bacon Cheeseburger does get the clapback passive. Remember the thing about the Wendy's brand account, Twitter account being aggressive on social media? Yes, that is carried off into here with the clapback. Every time the vocal song comes on the pretzel, I have to go. Did I accidentally turn off? I have to stop because it's harder for me to talk while there's another voice like that talking behind me. Let me see if I... Oh, I did turn... There we go. Instrumental. Try that again. Less people talking behind me. Follow your dreams, you can achieve your goals. I'm living for a beefcake and beefcake. Basically, the order to basically they combo with other team members. They get clapback. They get to plus up their combos. It is time to layeth the snacketh down on some jabronis. As an actual line. Hey, Geek Ledger. Yeah, this and trust me, we haven't gotten to the absolute ridiculous stuff yet. This well goes deep. So basically, yes, you hear we talk about basically you lay the smackdown on some jabronis. The Order of the Dave's Double, they get the double passive of the basically of the Baconator. The Baconator seems like the really more powerful class, and like basically these people just get like the beefy stats. I don't think the system is by any means balanced. They do talk about testing it. They actually talk about testing it in here. But again, the point of this, basically, going back to what I said earlier, this is a silly game. Make sure you don't be upfront with your players that, hey, if you go into this expecting a well-balanced, crafted game that is going to make sense and everyone's going to feel like they have the same levels of powers and things like that, this isn't the place for that. This is for absolute silliness and chaos to reign. So we have Order of the Double Stack, which is different than the Dave's Double. They are more compact than the classic Dave's Double. Those are the Order of the Double Stack have truly gained a name in their own right. But they get the combo stuff. They also get the double stuff, but they also get the double smackdown. They also get to double stack. They also get to lay the double stack down on some jabronis. Apparently, jabronis are a constant threat in Freshtopia. Um, and then last but definitely not least, we get to the order of the sides. This is the only place where basically it's like it's okay to be frozen because it's a frosty. So frosties are okay, but they don't use ice attacks. Hey, thank you. Basically, I'm covering the emo. Basically, thanks for the follow. My alerts got covered there. And so basically, the order of the frosty. Basically, they have little spoon and big spoon, which those are definitely names that someone allowed to get by. Basically, little spoon and big spoon let you charm enemies. Basically, sweet surprise. Basically, this one's actually kind of a fun one. I actually kind of enjoyed this. Basically, an Arcana roll 13 or higher, all damage they take on the enemy's next turn will be applied as healing. However, if you fail the roll, all damage they take will be doubled on the next enemy's turn. One way or another, someone is in for a sweet surprise. Congrats, you just murdered a teammate. But hey, maybe you saved their life. And then their top level ability is they can freeze time, which is the only okay way of freezing stuff. Yeah, Icy Prep is the closest. The only way you can get to freezing is this is as close as you can get. You're freezing time. You're not freezing character. You're freezing bad guys, so it's okay. Basically, Order of Frosty is perfected in Freshnivity's only cold zone. A zone that never breaks down and is always there when the citizens need it. Yes, they are making. They managed to include a joke about the McDonald's ice cream machines breaking down. Yeah, the structure around the staff was definitely a choice. Formatting was a choice. So there's also the Order of the French fries, which, of course, if the French fries and the Frosty are near each other, if you have someone playing both of them, if you're within 10 feet, basically because they love Frosties and French fries going together, both of you get advantage on all skill rolls. Just a passive permanent advantage on all skill rolls if you have a Frosty character and a Fry character, which is insane. Like, no, we just always get... Because remember, all these things are skills. All these attacks and other stuff and charms are all skills. So you get to roll those twice. Woo! French fries and Frosties do not go together. Oh boy, don't start a riot in the comment here, but Wolf Mom. And then you have the Order of the Baconator fries, who lose the ability because you don't want to dip your bacon fries in your Frosty, so they lose that passive. They keep the grab and goal, but they also pick up the Applewood Smoke Bomb because they've got bacon. You're about to go full Baconator. You never go full Baconator. A Tropic Thunder reference. The enemy is overcome with cheesy, meaty essence in your attack. A successful strength attack of 15 or higher. All enemies within 15 feet of you take 48 physical damage and have disadvantage for the next 3 turns. Okay, it's a level 5 ability, so, you expect it to be a little powerful. The Order of the Chili gets some of the spoon-based stuff from the Frosty. Words I never expected to say. The funny thing is, like, I can catch that Tropic Thunder reference. I've never actually seen more than a few clips of Tropic Thunder. I'm just very familiar with certain sections of it. The chilies apparently are a mixture of the chickens and the Order of the Chicken class and the Order of the Frosty. They get the spoon stuff from the Frosty, and they get some of the healing stuff from the Order of the Chicken. And then last but not least is the Order of the Baked Potato. Who are a buff class. You get basically people get basically you get additional Arcana rolls when you're outside of combat. Basically, you can give people advantage. Basically, people you just hand out advantage left and right in this system. Basically, everybody's getting advantage. So you pick your order, and then you get your first couple of skills, and that's it. Basically, like here's your base defense, here's your hit points. Basically, here's some additional stuff. Here's what armors and weapons you're skilled with, but here's what armors and weapons you can't use. Go. Pretty much, it just kind of throws you at it. Though the most insane thing in this rule system, I have to say, is it's back up in the actual section here. I kind of skipped over. So they have like items and things like that where you're like, okay, you can get a cup or a large cup. Large cup is slightly more expensive. These prices will seem insane to anybody who's played any D&D, because these are all in gold pieces, and the idea of 10 feet of rope costing an entire gold is a little crazy, but the ink and quill costs 3 gold. Literacy is expensive in the Kingdom of Freshtopia, apparently. Shackles are 4 gold, very expensive. Nails are a gold each. Houses are incredibly expensive in Freshtopia. Basically, you can pick up a horse. Your healing items are, of course, all items from basically, 1 gold each. Your healing items are all stuff, basically, of course, from basically lemonades and strawberry lemonades heal you, and chicken nuggets also heal you. Basically, 1d4, 1d8, 1d12. Basically, a single chicken nugget is 5 gold. Basically, they're very expensive in this kingdom. Though, basically, people can apparently just pull them out. You can go fishing. You could just buy fishing poles because, Wendy's does sell fish sandwiches, but they didn't want to include an order of the fish class, apparently. You have your armor, which starts at wearing a bun. Then wearing some foil. You can wear the Wendy's corporate uniform, if that's the thing you want. We do have weapons, which range from spoon and great spoon to a cast iron skillet. Very expensive, 55 gold. Can't just pick up one of those. You could get a whisk. Whisks are very expensive, 35 gold for a whisk. But they do 1d10 damage, and you're using your graceful stat instead, so you could be a spoony bard. Very good, Wolfbone. Very good. But now we get to the most silly part of this section, which is they included a section called buffs, which I can only assume was the marketing department sat down and went, this is great. We love the references. You've added in all the stuff we've asked for, but we really don't think you've included enough of a call to action for our company. We don't think that basically we're putting this out there for free, so we've got to get a monetary benefit for this. We put a lot of work into art and layouts and design, but we have to give this away for free. So we really need you to sell the product in here. And the writers went, hang on, we got you. So, if you are eating in real life any of these Wendy's items, your in-game character gains the following bonuses. You're eating a cheeseburger, you get +1 to strength. Any chicken item, you get +1 to Arcana. You're eating a Frosty, +1 to charm. French fries give you a bonus to your intelligence. Basically, any beverage item from Wendy's gets you, basically adds 1 to your grace. And a Wendy's salad gets you +1 to your defense. Doesn't heal your character, they basically, which is interesting. But basically, they do provide that. But apparently, they went to the marketing people and they went, see, we got your back. This is good. Basically, here you go. Found it. Basically, the order from Wendy's, they get these bonuses. And the marketing people came back and said, yes, you've done a good job of incentivizing, basically kind of giving them reasons to do it, but we really need you to sell the product here. Like, we really need them to basically, if you're going to play this game, we need people to basically, they're going to want to go, basically, they have to go buy this stuff. Otherwise, basically, they're like, oh, okay, well, if you really want to incentivize them, we could do this. So there's a debuff section. If you're eating anything else other than Wendy's while playing the game, you would suffer the most insane debuffs I have seen for a game. Basically, if you're eating from any other burger joint, you take +1 ice damage to all of your attacks for the rest of the day. You're eating pizza? How dare you? -2 to charm rolls for the rest of the day. A sub shop? Well, that's -2 to strength rolls, including attack rolls for the day. Gas station food? How could you? -2. Yeah. Chips and stuff are -2 for chips. Like, you know, that role-playing staple of having chips on the table or anything else like that. Nope. Nope. You should have ordered more Wendy's. If you're still hungry, should have ordered more Wendy's. Because you're taking a -2 to grace rolls for the rest of the day. How dare you? It was just me. Oh, you do get an extra bonus if the food you're eating matches your order. You get advantage on all attack rolls for the day. If you just happen to be ordering to match it. I don't know. The rules is written basically chips and stuff. Like, if you want something sweet. I mean, if In-N-Out isn't a frozen burger joint, then you're probably safe. Though the marketing people at Wendy's would probably insist that, you know, you're wrong. Arby's is also technically safe on here, as they don't fall under any of these categories, except maybe Sub Shop, maybe? But the -2 for, like, basically the idea of the fact that you take a penalty for doing a thing which has been fundamentally part of every single role-playing game since the first time Gary Gygax sat down and rolled up a character with those terrible dice. It was just the most just kind of, oh gosh. You decided to go there. So my professional GM advice would be ignore this page. It's like, I guess, if you want to do it, maybe play with this part of it. If you're really wanting to be silly. You could play with the, hey, you guys pick up Wendy's for the table. You get bonuses. Because these bonuses aren't too bad. With the exception of if you're eating something that matches your order, you get advantage on all attack rolls for the day. If you do this, be prepared for the game to go quickly out of control. Rolling advantage on every attack roll is going to go. It's going to result in lots of things exploding really quickly. So, outside of that, it's a silly. It's not that bad of a system. It's relatively silly. It's relatively straightforward. This does have a nice quick start guide here. Basically describing how character creation works. I do love the fact that they included a lot of again, back in the rarefied day of 2019, when a company that was seeking to do something like this would actually pay artists to do things, and so they actually paid a series of artists. They did pay them. Apparently, they paid them enough. Hopefully, that basically to not give them credit because there are no. The one thing Wendy's did not do in this book is include any sorts of basically like credit for the authors or anything like that. So we don't know who wrote this or if basically all you got is basically a little Wendy's thing there and that's it. So hey, Wendy's, I would have been basically would have been nicer if you'd actually like, you know, basically thanked your authors and artists, but oh well. Basically, but they did at least include art. They have sketches and things like that. So, you know, hey, at least back in, you know, back in the time of 2019, a corporate branding thing at least got an artist paid. So, hey, cool. And they do include like some pre-rolled characters for you. Basically, if you want to, basically, you just want to. Basically, this one's carrying a spatula. There's your art for the Frosties character. And they do, basically, this does include a game guide, basically an intro adventure. So, basically, if I was going to basically take it apart to bring this back to, yeah, the before times again. Going back to Lore Link. So, in terms of basically how basically it is a relatively straightforward campaign. It is a basically and for a joke campaign or basically a kind of a fun one shot or something like this, the key is that you want it to run smoothly. So I would encourage basically like using something like basically obviously I'm going to encourage Lore Link because, you know, our brand. But Lore Link is basically going to be where you can put in all of your basically put in all the information, get it all in there in relatively straightforward means, basically, which means the fact that you're going to reduce the amount of downtime you have because basically the way that the book is laid out is it's very much laid out as a basically it has the adventure and it talks about some of the things. Basically, some of the monsters and stuff like that are called out inside the block. Some of the stuff is like, oh hey, we've included a bunch of monsters at the bottom. So basically at the bottom of the PDF. So like for example, I would make sure that basically a game like this is going to get combat oriented because that's the way the system is set up. It's full of your characters don't really have a lot of non-combat skills. It's meant to be a relatively silly, straightforward, fast, kind of somewhat combat heavy thing. You're meant to be like, yes, the Order of the Baconator is going to throw his giant spatulas around and smash things around and basically destroy monsters. And so you're going to want to basically for the monsters at least, I would go, basically one of the first things I would do in setting this up is I'd go to the back and make sure that I pull in some of the some of the make sure I pull in basically some of the monster information that they have in the back in the appendix, so that I have all of that quickly available for me. So when I'm running a fight, I'm not doing a whole lot of flipping back and forth, basically losing my place and having to redo basically where I am in the basically in the adventure that they've given. And being like, okay, where was I again? Where was the map? Where are they on the... basically, I want to get that information into one place. I want to make sure that all of that is basically in one place so that I can keep all of that quickly available to me. So that basically, you know, all of that quick, because again, this is going to kind of live or die on the, hey, this is silly things are going to happen, and you want them to happen quickly and your players to interact, because again, much like we've talked about before with running a game like Feng Shui or something like that, where a lot of improv is going to be happening, because this is not a rules-heavy game. You saw the skills that were listed under the players. Basically, if you start at first level, most of your characters are going to have an attack, which is their weapon, and one or two skills they can actually use in combat. And that's it. And you want to encourage them to be absolutely silly, absolutely descriptive, and so you're going to want to focus in on those aspects, and because of that, they're like, when they tell you that they're going to trip up a monster with some crazy thing that they're doing, you want to be able to quickly come in here and be like, oh, what's this character's grace stat? Because I need to roll basically to see if they stay on their feet. Ah, okay, cool. Here's their grace stat. Pick a random difficulty class, 13. Okay, basically, can they make a 13 on their grace? That's a 50-50 shot for this thing. Okay, cool. I'm going to want to be able to keep track of those things quickly, to be able to bounce to it, find it, and basically be able to pull that up here in creatures relatively quickly without having to scroll to the bottom of this PDF to find them. Along those same lines, let's make sure we get that map in here, because the first thing you do is you go to this Fry Forest maze, essentially. So let me pull that there. Let me pull it as a map too. Basically get that read aloud in here, so basically I don't have to go searching for that. Because they're going to talk a lot. Basically, they're going to do a lot of it because it's relatively straightforward. The formatting, again, like I talked a little bit, the formatting isn't the best. Basically, it is very definitely that this was a, hey, we need you to do X, we need you to set this up. We don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time or money on it. So basically they took some shortcuts. Maybe some of the editing wasn't the greatest. Some of the proofreading did basically happen quickly. So you want to make sure that you've got that sorted out ahead of time, so you're not dealing with, oops, I just hit this thing where it's weird, it's set up weirdly. So now I've got that maze in here, got that set up, and so now what I can start doing with this, now that I've got this maze kind of set up, I can quickly go through and do some quick creates here, get this set up. Because here's the number one confusing thing about this map. So item number 1 on their map, which basically you can see here. This is their PDF. You can see they have it numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Cool. So this number 1 here, that's room 1. This number 2 here, that's room 2. We're good. We're great. Then things start to get nuts because 3 is a stone door, and so now 4 is room 3. Wait, and 6 is room 4. 8 is room 5. 11 is room 6. Basically, you're going to get really confused because you're going to go, oh, basically, I need to get to room 6. I'm going to go look at the number 6. No, wait, that's not number 6. It's a number 11 for room 6 because someone didn't have a thesaurus and come up with names for these rooms outside of room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4. So I'm going to highly suggest that this is a great place for LoreLink to come in and be like, hey, I just need to, that's room 1, Let's do a quick create. Let's go. I'm just going to quickly create the rooms. I'm not going to do a lot of details like I would if I was actually creating this, because I want to just show off what we could do here with lore link. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I appreciate the background music giving me a good Jeopardy-esque theme as I do all of this. And then lastly, room 10. So, this is room 1 over here. I'm just going to add a hotspot to make that room 1. This is room 2. I'm going to make that a hotspot for room 2. Okay. This is room 3. This is where things get weirder. Let's just add a hotspot for that. Here's room 4. And then this is room 5. And then 11. This thing over here is room 6. 15, 16, and 17 are your final rooms. 7. 8. 9. And this is room 10. Did I do room 10? Yeah, I did it pretty good. I do love the fact that they finally came to their, basically, like, some of these rooms have names. Like, this one here is the campsite. So, basically, that actually has an actual name. So I can actually call that one out if I want. Oops, that's off. Let's move it. Yeah. Again, I can move things. Oh, I'm hiding things behind. I was doing a great job of doing all that stuff. So, basically, here's the map. Basically, like, here is the... basically, this is the Hunger's Lair. So let's go ahead and label that as well. So let's create Hunger's Lair there. I'll move that since it's not precisely where I want. There we go. That's better. Where's the basically? So basically, I'm putting all these hotspots on there because what I want to be able to do is, as we just talked about, these numbers are weird, and you're going to just get confused, and you're going to be hopping back and forth because you might be like, okay, so room 2 has the monsters, and the monsters are in the back of the PDF, and so I have to scroll to where room 2, I have to remember which room 2 is, then I have to find the number room 2 is, then look that up, then it'll be like you're fighting some pangs, so then I have to go to the bottom of the PDF and find the pangs. And again, it's going to slow things down, and this is something you want to be a relatively speedy and quick experience. So once I have these set up, and I can actually go in and basically say, for example, room 2, basically room 2 has a bunch of pangs in it. So I could set up this read aloud like that. I could do that. I could set up the description like this. And basically I've got the pangs here, and so now I can just build a reference for creatures, pang, And basically, do that down here as well. So I'm just using the quick reference feature of LoreLink so I can quickly type that in, link directly to them. So what this now looks like when I'm actually running the game, basically I can go into view only mode. And we're saying in the Forest Fry Maze, I've got the map up. They say they're going into room 2. I know that's room 2. I can hover over it. It tells me it's room 2. I can click on it. It's going to take me to room 2. It's got the read aloud right here. I can hop back to the map if I need to, or I can go forward. If I want to, I can also open this, basically these hunger pangs up as their own separate entry. And so now I've got the stats for the hunger pains, and when I'm done with them, I just close that tag, and I'm back to the room description, and I can go back to there, back to the map, and as I go deeper in, I can just keep exploring. All of that stuff basically makes this a lot easier than having to deal with their somewhat poorly formatted basically PDF. And you don't have to deal with their weird numbering schemes and things like that. I've sadly, what LoreLink cannot fix is LoreLink can't fix the puzzles. That this has, it is literally like basically the cliche version of GM's first dungeon puzzles. We have a thing where basically the first puzzle has to do with thrice repeating, nice for eating, a meal, a deal, a steal for certain. And basically it's a dial that has 4 numbers on it. You have to figure out what number do you put the 3 dials on. Actually, there are. Wow, okay, I just read this text and it's basically, you come upon a huge stone door with 3 large dials on its face. The dials have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 on them and face north, east, south, and west. Do the doors face north, east, south, or west? Or do the dials face north, east, south, or west when they're 1, 2, 3, and 4? The text means that there's only 3 dials. So it must be referring to the numbers face north, east, south, or west, which is a trick because the door should be vertical, not horizontal. Maybe it's a horizontal door. Who can tell? But in any case, like, you got that. There's another room which has you must insert something into this Frosty. Is it a spoon or a French fry? But basically, don't worry. We have this encounter to talk about. Because as soon as you do two women with otherworldly auras walk in, the name's T, the first one says. That name's only for me, and that's the T, the second says. Forgive her, she's unsweet, and that's the T, the first retort. How rude of her to be this unsweet, and that's the T, the second claps back. The inscription on the door changes and slowly spells out, before you stand sweet tea and unsweet tea, one always truthful, one always giving falsehoods. Ask either of them one question to decide which to dip. The right choice allows you to move on. The wrong choice leads to regret. So, you gotta deal with that. You gotta deal with GM's first puzzle in terms of, hey, have you heard the puzzle about the one person who always lies? And then there's a door of riddles later where you have to answer 4 riddles. And if you get an answer wrong, you have to wait a couple hours, which is rude for a 4 riddle section. Some of which are dad jokes. Like, how many nuggets can you place in an empty carton? We'll leave that as an exercise to the reader to figure that one out. Was it though? And again, basically, by no means take this seriously. It's absolutely silly. it is basically, it is designed for you to come in and be like, oh gosh, basically, play it as written. Everybody knows it's going to be silly. Everybody knows it's going to be stupid. Allow your players to make fun of it, take advantage of it, take it apart, rewrite it on the basically if you are a baby GM and this is your first game, play it exactly as written. And again, you're there to get the experience of running monsters and dealing with the maps and putting stuff basically possibly dealing with a thing like lore link and putting things down and figuring how to record notes and change basically and deal with stuff and deal with the minor things like that. If you're an experienced GM, take this as a basically as an exercise in how do I take something like this and work with it? How do I change it on the fly to make it interesting, better? How do I work with my players throwing me random absolute curveballs if they want to go through the wall? What if the players attack Tea and Sweet Tea? I don't have stats for them. What happens? Cool. On the fly, do something interesting. Be prepared. Have fun with it. Because don't take it seriously. The people who wrote it didn't. Anything that includes character dialogue that includes the words clapped back, automatically, you don't have to worry about it. It's not serious. Equally so if it includes the word jabroni multiple times. You're fine. So basically, and all of this stuff is just chapter 1. It keeps going. You end up having to go fight the ice jester. There's also the creepy king with his paper crown who hides in the forest, who takes frozen burgers and throws them in the volcano. Like, it has some absolutely bizarre idea. There's the ice jester who was jealous of the ice jester of the United Clown Nations, who basically hates the Freshtopia because they're always fresh. But it has some other fun stuff. Like there's a bunch of festival games, which are just all silly. There's the fishing stuff we talked about, and again, the great sauce heist at Freestyle Falls. I mean, it is by no means going to be anything serious, but have fun. Take a break. Push your players to do silly things, to stretch themselves, because it doesn't matter. This isn't a character that they're going to get attached to. If this character gets blown through several walls and knocked unconscious by the beef bandit, no one is going to be upset about that. They're going to die laughing and just be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my character was killed by the beef bandit. And basically, so they're going to try silly things. They're going to do wacky stuff. Maybe they'll be like, oh, hey, I can stretch myself. I can do some silly things. I can think about doing something different with my character, with my actual serious character, push myself, stretch them, basically have fun with the game. And as a GM, take a break from having to worry about your player characters. Is everybody having fun? Am I pushing them too hard? Is this basically is this balanced? Are we causing problems? Am I having rules issues, etc., etc.? Am I forgetting something? Did I miss a note? I need to make sure everything stays relatively on the track for the story that I'm creating. Take a break, take a load off, play this game. Possibly cook your go pick up some beef from a local farmer if you happen to be available in an area you can get it. Make some burgers. Lie to your players and tell them your players can all agree to lie to the adventure and call it Wendy's. Have fun. Roll dice. Beat up stuff. Have a good time. So, basically, that is pretty much our time for today. We will, basically, next week we will be back with talking about basically along those same lines of taking things less seriously, kind of a continuation of basically working with younger players in D&D. Basically, in terms of I'm going to talk about my experience from basically introducing my nieces and nephews into it. I'm probably going to reach out to a teacher friend of ours, basically of the stream, who basically I know has done basically works with running D&D games in schools and things like that, and so it'd be great to basically talk to them and get their opinion and their thoughts on the matter as well. And we're going to talk about that next week. So basically, also basically as we saw basically earlier, basically it is this is April. So basically we have a brand new schedule for the month. As you can see here, maybe. Here. There we go. It's a little off center. A little over there. That's it. Good. Come over here. There we go. So basically, after that, basically Mike is going to talk about his Pendragon game. That basically, if you missed that, we had a great time playing that last Friday. I managed to roleplay accurately. The character sort of falls off his horse a lot. Basically, we had a great time basically playing that, basically breaking swords, basically being paranoid about Merlin. Good time, basically. Good time was had by all. Yeah, it was a normal Pendragon game for me. The dice loved me. It was fine. Basically, all the things I attempted to do, I pulled off perfectly. First time. No questions asked. Please, whatever you do, don't go to youtube.com and check out the video there that talks to basically that we have, where you can watch the entire stream archived right there. Oh, please don't do that. Definitely don't leave comments basically congratulating me on not falling off my horse. Tony was a great job of making sure the players could continue to keep playing by moderating the chat. And basically he was defeating his own trolls on his own epic side quest as Sir Moderator. Oh yeah, don't do that. The sound doesn't work on 2/3 of the video. There is that problem. Yeah, sadly captions don't work either. Like, the captions were actually probably working on the stream. But the sound wasn't. Depending on how he had captions running, we may have captions for it, but in any case, if you want to see part of the stream, you want to see our dice rolls absolutely mock us and betray us for half the video, you can check out that video. But in any case, you can also check out basically him planning that campaign. Basically, if you're curious about basically with all the planning behind the Pendragon campaign, and then when you look at that, you can then come back to basically back here on the 15th, and he's going to talk about, hey, what went right, what went wrong, what did he plan for, what worked in Lore Link, what didn't, what he's going to change for his upcoming games at that next weekend. Which is the weekend of Easter, basically April 18th, 19th, and 20th. That is HoosierCon. Basically, as you've seen go by in the chat a bit there, we are going to be on the east side of Indianapolis. If you happen to be in the area, check out HoosierCon. It's a great low-cost, charity-driven basically convention. We'll be there with Lore Link, demonstrating that. I'll be doing panels on jamming and picking jamming games. Mike will be running a Pendragon game. So all of that will basically is HoosierCon. You can check that out, the link there. You can register for, I think as of right now, the Pendragon game is full, but tickets are still available for both of my panels, the jamming panel and how to pick your next game panel. So you can pick up tickets for those. Those are free as long as you get into the convention. And again, it's a donation. Basically, it's a charity-based convention. So the money you're spending there basically is going to charity. So great cause. Go check them out. We've enjoyed supporting them. Basically, we sponsored them in the past. We're exhibiting there. Basically, we enjoy our time there. So check us out there. After that, Mike will be back talking about Frozen Flame. We'll be back to talk about HoosierCon while playing Power Wash Simulator. And then after that, basically keeping the theme of a relatively light and basically a light and easy month for the GM. We're going to talk, basically, I'm going to talk about Utama and Fabula Ultima and both of their cozy. And basically, I don't think the rules for Kobold's cozy game are out. I think they're just kickstarting it now. I don't think the rules are out for that one as well. But I might take a look at it and basically throw comments on what they're doing as we move into this more cozy age of RPGs, where not everything has to be dramatic, high-stakes battles to the death with evil empires conquering kingdoms. Sometimes maybe just want to go into the woods and learn how to bake a cake. You know, it could be fun. So, all of those will be right here on this Twitch channel. The YouTube archives will have archives of them if you miss any of them. But if you want to keep up to date on those, several things you can do. One, the obvious call to action thing. Subscribe, follow here at this channel. We greatly appreciate it. Let you know, basically, lets us tell you we're going live. Lets us tell you what we're doing. So that basically that follow button, it's free. You can do that. If you want to throw some money your way saying, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing, keep it up. Basically, we will basically, especially if you want to do it using the Amazon Prime Gaming sub, which lets you get a free sub to any streamer, we will take Jeff Bezos' money and not spend it on a yacht. That's our guarantee here at LoreLink. Any of Jeff Bezos' yacht money we give you, we will only spend on virtual yachts. Or other things other than yachts. So, in any case, basically, if you're over on YouTube, obviously, leaving a comment, liking the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, all great things that fight that great beast known as the algorithm, that giant brand marketing monster that we all must fight in order to get our opinions out there. So, basically, and last but not least, basically, as 20 has pointed out, basically, you can follow us on our preferred social media network of choice, Blue Sky, and that's where we'll post about comments about, hey, what cool things are you doing with RPGs? Hey, this release is coming up with LoreLink. Check this out. We're at this convention. Check us out there. All that stuff is available there on LoreLink. It's a bunch of free, fun, flowing conversation. And last, of course, if you don't want to deal with basically social media at all, for obvious reasons, we do have a newsletter which is available, and basically you can check us out there. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say, basically, it's been the chat, it has been in the chat. This has been LoreLink. This is our campaign management tool. We've basically, all the things we've been doing in here is basically part of the software that we offer. As of right now, you can get the free, basically, which is the world tier account, available for free. Check it out. Go in there, create a couple campaigns. You can do most of the things in here. Everything is that I've shown off here, with the exception of map hotspots are not available, and player sharing isn't, but I didn't show that off. But you can start setting up the campaigns, start getting things organized, and make your next campaign just a little bit easier for yourself. So check that out today at that link. Love for you to do that and give us some feedback. So I have been Mark. I am the GM for this stream, and I thank you so much for watching. We hope to catch you next week here, basically same place, same time. Thanks for watching. Oops, that's the wrong button. Let's do thanks for watching instead.